What's up, guys? Looks like we're live. Really weird times for me. Lots of good, lots of weird. Maybe bad, but I don't really think about bad as being bad in and of itself anymore because I know it all ultimately serves the good. So it's all good. And in regards to the title of this stream, I've been thinking a lot about how I can best serve this community and offer you guys stuff with real utility. Obviously that's important. Um, and I mean, I think I do that, but I mean, in the sense that I can distill, all of this stuff down to really clear, concise, applicable protocol, basically. And there's a lot to that. So it would also help if you guys would, you can either send me messages on the Patreon, comment this video. If there are specific things you'd like to see me address, things that you're trying to work on personally, and it's not like I need to address you if you ask something, we can do that anonymously. But chances are pretty good that if it's going to serve you, it's going to serve other people in the community, So even if it's a personal thing, I can sort of generalize and try to offer something in those regards. And for now, I'm going to share a little bit about something that happened earlier this week. And I'm just going to give a little synopsis because I'm going to do a stream on Wednesday and go into it in depth. But this universal algorithm thing that I've been working on forever, I mean, I'm kind of realizing it's the focal point of everything I've been, you know what I mean? This is what it's all emanating from, literally, like everything in the universe. But it's all been coming into like really sharp focus, I guess. And this last development, I guess, what happened is I was just sitting in the driveway waiting for a collectivo. And I don't even know how it came up, but I thought about Finnegan's Wake and its holographic nature and how it emerged from Joyce's subconscious. It really is proof of some kind of higher mind, or at least it says something about how advanced our pattern recognition can become. Because over the 18 years that James Joyce wrote The Wake, he was blackout drunk most of the time. It was not a conscious process. And in case you're unfamiliar, it's difficult to explain it all, but the book starts in the middle of the first sentence and then ends in the middle of the same sentence, so it makes a complete circle. There are 3 layers of themes or plot, I guess, like macro plot. And then there are all these subplots that are running through all of that. And each word, the syllables can be interpreted in any one of 72 different languages. And then you can extract other entire paragraphs from sentences by interpreting each syllable in different languages and relating them to each other. Quechua, the language spoken in my neighborhood, is even one of the languages, right? So it's very much a fractal. And on top of that, phonetically, things are spelled incorrectly so that there's another layer of stuff that can be extracted from all that. And on some pages, you'll find other words written diagonally in the midst of all of that shit. It's not like it stops and then it's like a crossword. It's all that stuff I described and that. So Jerry Garcia and Robert Hunter used to get stoned and like interpret this book as teenagers with no internet, no skeleton keys. They're like major academics that have written skeleton keys to help people work through this book. And it just kind of hit me that these kids had imprinted their consciousness with this fractal microcosm of the larger fractal in literary form, right? And Hunter was writing holographic lyrics, and Garcia was writing holographic music. So that led me to wonder if there's been any analysis done on Fibonacci and Grateful Dead improvisations, and it turns out like that rabbit hole. I have not. I feel like I haven't even begun to scratch the surface, and this is something I've been looking at for a long time. So I'm going to skip all the rest because we're going to do a public stream about it. But the bullet point of the presentation is that as early as I think 1970, there were major academic studies on ESP at Grateful Dead concerts and other weird shit, you know. And this has been going on for decades. There's tons of major academic papers written on how self-organizing principles as they're observed in nature and described mathematically in dead improvs. The gold standard for ESP experiments, and the one that is considered to have produced the most compelling results, is all Grateful Dead related. So academia, the government, you know, these institutions have known all of the stuff that I've been saying about this band is true for 50 years or something. And I have actually seen major publications where they said that the results of the ASP experiments didn't produce anything meaningful. That's not what the academic institutions and researchers themselves have said. So the evidence that there has been a deliberate suppression of knowledge of this universal mind is emerging in a way that is very satisfactory to me. You know, it's coming from exactly the places that I would have expected and hoped, just personally. But more importantly than that, what I'm realizing, and this is the main bullet point of this stream here, is that I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was Crowley talking about IWAS or channeling IWAS or something, you know, but I give certainty, not faith, right? And if you understand this fractal algorithm and the way that the universe generates truth in these fractal patterns, then you realize that certain types of prophecy are basically certain. And when you look at, it's almost like the book of Revelations, you know, that sort of idea. The Asclepius, the Lament of Thoth. You know, there's a whole bunch of variations of it. But basically that mankind falls into this existential crisis and despair and meaninglessness, and there comes a redeemer who, how do they say that? Comes a redeemer and he slowly too fades away. There follows a wagon behind him that's loaded with clay. Seeds that were silent all burst into bloom and then decay. Night comes so quiet, it's close on the heels of the day. And then they all wake up to find out that they are the eyes of the world. Right? Like, that's basically it, you know, that there's this period of decay and destruction and chaos, and then there is a redemption. And when you realize that this is actually the result of the influence of, is inexorable a good word for this? Inevitable resolution of like mathematical equations, you know, really. But it's an inevitable result of a confluence of natural forces and laws, right? Simply put, we are destined to win, you know. When we see the Hermetic prophecy of the Lament of Thoth, and we look at the track record of the methodology used by the Hermetic adepts, we understand the methodology and we look at the results, we realized that these were not people just talking out of their asses. This was not a guy that had just had a vision and has ego inflation problems, so now he thinks it's a prophecy. You know, these are measurements of generative processes. And just as in the moment, we have this mirror symmetry based reflective generative process, across time, we also have these mirrors reflecting what ultimately becomes the generation of our experience. So that's been a major conflict for me, whether or not we can win, or if there's any point to what I'm doing. Like is it going to go anywhere? And the more I have seen the ubiquity of these principles, in James Joyce's book and the Grateful Dead's improvisations and weather patterns, and you know what I mean? Like, the more I shine the light into this Fibonacci cave, I guess, I don't know what to call it, the more obvious it is that it really is the oracle, the ultimate oracle of objective truth. And the intelligence in the universe surpasses ours to a degree that is, we almost can't even understand the degree. I think this is why people become disconnected from it. So if you recognize this reason in the finite that is transcendent to the point of, it literally in every single piece of everything around me there's incomprehensible levels of genius. And to assume that that's going to end in a result that is nonsensical or isn't productive is really blasphemy. It's absurdity to the point where it's almost evil. So, I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to communicate here. I don't know if I did the perfect job, but I'm basically trying to communicate that if you struggle having a positive outlook and having positive expectations about the outcome of this chaostrophe that we find ourselves immersed in, the reality is that the overwhelming evidence is suggesting that we absolutely will prevail. And what emerges from that is a reward that, because of, math, or our certainty being mathematical certainty, it will be equal to or greater than the investment, reward commensurate with effort. Like, all of this darkness, all of the suffering, all of the striving, all of it is a matter of certainty determined by natural law or ensured by natural law, that the reward will be commensurate. And I think that constantly reinforcing that this is not hope, this is certitude based upon evidence, that should be a tremendous source of encouragement, power, and inspiration for all of us. So, I'm going to cut a little bit short tonight. I've had a hell of a week. It was my son's birthday yesterday. And some of you guys know the details. It's been a bit tiring. So I just wanted to offer that bit of inspiration. Um, I know I needed it when I received it. So thank you guys all again for your support. Don't forget to send me suggestions. What do you guys want from me? How can I help you? Let me know. Thank you and good night.